This is one of the most dramatic and heartbreaking stories in the Bible. King David, a man after God's own heart, experiences a tragic downfall. His sin with Bathsheba sets off a chain reaction that leads to family betrayal, rebellion, and sorrow. His own son, Absalom, rises against him, seeking to overthrow his father's throne. Will David survive the rebellion? Will Absalom succeed in his quest for power? This powerful story teaches us about repentance, consequences, and God's mercy. Watch the full video to uncover the lessons from this epic biblical account. Let us know in the comments, what lessons do you take from this story? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful Bible stories and teachings. It was the season when kings went to war, but King David remained in Jerusalem. While his armies fought on distant battlefields, David stayed behind, enjoying the comfort of his palace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, David strolled on the rooftop. The cool breeze brushed against his face, but his heart grew restless. From his vantage point, David's eyes fell upon a woman bathing, a vision of beauty. Her name was Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah the Hittite, one of David's most loyal and valiant soldiers. Though David knew she was married, a dangerous desire stirred within him. Without hesitation, he sent for her. Bathsheba arrived at the palace, unaware of how her life was about to change. David welcomed her into his chambers, and that night, lines were crossed that could never be undone. Days passed, but soon Bathsheba sent word to the palace, "I am with child." Fear gripped David. If the truth came to light, his sin would be exposed. Desperation led him to plot a cover-up that would ripple through his kingdom. David summoned Uriah from the battlefield under the guise of wanting news of the war. Uriah, a man of integrity, stood before his king and faithfully reported on Joab's campaign. David, however, had another motive. He urged Uriah to go home, hoping he would lie with his wife and mask the child's true father. But Uriah refused. "How can I enjoy my home when the ark of God and my brothers are on the battlefield?" he said. Despite David's urging, Uriah slept at the entrance of the palace with the servants. Even after David invited him to a feast and made him drunk, Uriah remained steadfast. Frustrated, David devised a crueler plan. He penned a letter to Joab, an order that sealed Uriah's fate. Place Uriah at the fiercest battle point and withdraw so that he may be struck down. Without hesitation, Uriah carried his own death sentence back to the battlefield, unaware of his king's betrayal. Joab obeyed David's command. In the heat of battle, Uriah was placed where the enemy was strongest. As the fighting raged, the soldiers withdrew, leaving Uriah exposed. He fell, his blood soaking the earth. News of Uriah's death reached David. With the obstacle removed, David took Bathsheba as his wife. But the Lord saw everything, and he was not pleased. David's sin echoed beyond the palace walls, shaking the foundation of his house. The prophet Nathan, sent by God, arrived at David's court. With solemn eyes, he told a story. A rich man with many flocks took the only lamb of a poor man to feed a guest. Outraged, David declared, "That man deserves to die." Nathan's voice thundered, "You are that man." David's heart trembled as Nathan pronounced God's judgment. "The sword will never depart from your house. You took Uriah's wife, now your own household will rise against you. The child born to you will surely die." The weight of his guilt bore down on him as David realized the depth of his betrayal. Soon, Bathsheba gave birth to a son, but the child fell gravely ill. David's heart broke. He cast aside his royal robes and lay on the ground, fasting and pleading with God to spare the child. For 7 days and nights, he refused food, crying out for mercy. His servants feared for him. But on the 7th day, the child died. Afraid to tell the king, they whispered among themselves. Sensing the truth, David asked, "Is the child dead?" When they confirmed it, he rose, washed himself, and worshipped the Lord. His servants were astonished. "Why do you rise now, after the child has died?" they asked. David replied, "While the child was alive, I hoped God might be gracious. But now he is gone. I cannot bring him back, but one day, I will go to him." Years passed, but unrest brewed in David's household. Among his children was Amnon, David's eldest son, who became consumed with desire for his half-sister Tamar. Driven by lust, he devised a wicked plan. Feigning illness, Amnon called for Tamar to care for him. Innocently, she prepared food in his chamber. But when they were alone, his desire turned violent. Ignoring her pleas, he forced himself upon her. Tamar left his room broken and ashamed, her life forever scarred. When David heard what had happened, his anger burned, but he did nothing to punish Amnon. Tamar's brother, Absalom, seethed with silent fury. For 2 years, he nursed his hatred, waiting for the perfect moment to avenge his sister. 2 years later, Absalom invited all of David's sons to a grand feast at his estate. With wine flowing freely, Amnon let down his guard. When the time was right, Absalom gave the signal. His servant struck Amnon down, killing him in cold blood. Panic seized the royal family. Word reached David that all his sons had been slain. Though the truth emerged, only Amnon was dead, the damage was done. Absalom fled to Geshur, seeking refuge from his father's wrath. Thank you for watching. Leave your comment, like and subscribe and hit the notification button for the continuation.